What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Rewind here on the Wayward World podcast. I'm Sid, and today I'm very excited to announce my very first Brooklyn drag performer. He was nominated for Best Drag King at the Glam Awards in 2023, celebrating some of New York City's most elite nightlife performers and entertainers. He's a fine artist, drag king, and producer with his wife, Evangeline. Please welcome Mauve. How are you doing, Mauve?
Hi, Sid. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good.
Yeah,
Happy Pride.
happy Pride. How are you like it's week one of Pride. How are you holding up so far as a
Oh my
performer?
goodness. I am trying to pace myself. I've already had two crazy weekends. As you can imagine, I was upstate for the first weekend of Pride. I'm sticking around Brooklyn for most of the month. But I love this time of year. I'm a summer person. I love day drag. I love being out in the sun. Controversial opinion maybe, but I'm loving Pride season this year.
That is a very controversial thing because like I think every drag performer, whether it was a king or a drag queen, has like hates day drag
Yeah.
and being out in the sun.
Well, all I can say is I look good in the sunlight. So,
Yeah, you look good anytime. Like if anyone is like seen your pictures online or like your videos, you are always stunning. And
thank
like
you.
we're gonna have like a slide of a bunch of your looks, but that's actually a good segue into like your drag aesthetic. Let's start from there. What is your talk about your aesthetic a little bit and how you got your name and how long you've been performing. One thing I like about you specifically compared to other drag kings I know, you explore your femininity a lot in your drag king looks, and I really like that. I feel like it's different than what I'm see here on the west side. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been doing drag for 5 years. It'll be 6 years this fall. And I started in Canada because I'm from Canada. I'm Canadian. And I don't know, I wasn't always a drag king, I guess. When I started doing drag, I think there was still like so much for me to figure out with my own gender because I'm a trans guy. But like I was interested in drag before I even really understood any of that. And I saw drag kings a couple times. I saw drag queens, and I think at first I was not really sure if I fit into either of those categories. I think I like tried doing some queen makeup at first, and then I started putting on the mustache. That was like my very first performance, I think, was the first time I put on the mustache. I did a performance in September of 2018 in Calgary, and Calgary, Alberta Pride happens in September. So I was a Pride baby. I feel like everyone
Man,
is like either a Halloween baby or a Pride baby. I was a Pride baby.
nice.
So yeah, I did my first performance and I just loved how the mustache looked for me. For a while, I like identified as a drag thing, I think.
Mhm.
I was still figuring out my gender stuff. I started identifying as non-binary, and I was just like very into the idea of being something in between, and like I very much identified as like kind of gender fuck at that time. So I think that's where like a little bit of the elements of like masculinity and femininity were getting mixed together.
Mhm.
But as my career went on and I started to like know other drag kings, um, such as Show Pony, I think you know Show Pony from Brooklyn. He's one of my dear friends. I think we like knew each other on the internet like around 2018 time before I actually got to meet him in person. Once I met him in person and like was hanging out with him, I was like, I think actually that I'm a drag king. I think like that's what I identify with the most. Um, but honestly, I think all of these terms are like very loose for people. There are some people that like I consider drag kings who maybe don't consider themselves to be. But it's just like kind of a personal feeling for me. Like I feel like I am a guy all the time in
Mhm.
drag and out of drag. And the way that I express myself is very feminine, but I just like still very much like identify with he him pronouns, I guess. Um, and I think my character is like pretty firmly a guy. Like I mean, I think my character is kind of problematic in a way. I think of him as like a 30-year-old, like white, cis gay who's like very annoying, who listens to Lana Del Rey's music and is like, oh my God, she wrote this about me and my sugar daddy. Like, that's very like the vibe. Like, like Troye Sivan is like dressing up in drag right now. Like Mauve is very that. And like I'm kind of the fantasy of like what this man thinks he looks like because I look good. I don't think he actually like looks that good, probably. I think he just like throws on a wig, but he like refuses to use she, her pronouns, because he's like a man,
Yeah, yeah. Troye Sivan is just, like everyone's calling it drag. It's just a handsome white twink, like who put on a little bit of makeup and a wig. Is that drag?
Literally.
I mean, it could be.
I mean, he's not even doing it himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think it's like a lot more crossy, honestly. And I love my crossy girls. And I think Mauve honestly is like more of a cross dresser than a drag queen, like as a character. So yeah, that's kind of like where I've landed. I mean, I think like my drag will probably change a lot and my own like perspective of myself will change a lot over time, and I'm very comfortable with that. I think sometimes it confuses other people, but not as much as like you might think. If I just explain to them I'm like Ariana Grande and Freddie Mercury combined, and just like use he him pronouns for me, it's not that hard. It's like I'm lucky to be in Brooklyn too. I feel like there's like someone who does everything here. So I don't think it's that hard for people to understand me. If they already know Show Pony, who's already a bit of like a girly pop kind of drag king, like I think I'm not that far a stretch for people to understand.
Oh no, absolutely. And like coming from New York too, like New York just has a rich history of like gender fuckery as well when it comes to like the artistry and like, club kids and you know, ballroom culture even. Like there's like just so much rich queer history over there that, you know, someone like I can't, yeah, someone like Show Pony, since you mentioned it, like Show Pony, drag king. I love Show Pony so much. Like I get really excited about him. And like yeah, he kind of plays more into the femininity, but like in that rocker glam like outfit and attire that people from the 80s used to wear, like
No, totally.
John Bon Jovi and all those people. If a straight man can do it, why not a gay person? You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. He really is like the glam rock like faggot. Like I don't know if we can say that word.
Oh
Anyways.
yeah, you can.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. He really is that. And because I've been friends with him for a long time, I've seen him actually like get more masculine as he like figured out his character and stuff.
Mhm.
Um I think we actually used to be more similar. I think we're a lot more different now that we've both like found what we do. But we both still perform a lot of Lady Gaga.
No, that's so cool. I mean, yeah, you two are like complete opposites. Like you're a lot more high glam, I would say, like, and
Yeah,
expressing that
for sure.
femininity. And then he's more, like I said, like that rocker type deal. So two different sides of the coin, but it seems like you draw a lot of inspiration from each other, in a
Yeah,
lot
we
of
do
different
for
ways.
sure. Yeah, I think we have to look out for each other. He does a good job of looking out for me. He's like paved his way in this city just a little bit before me. And you know, he's literally always passing opportunities my way, like helping uplift me. I think in general that's like what we're trying to do as drag kings around here. It can be, a super competitive scene. New York City is like very, very competitive. I don't really perform in Manhattan at all. Um, because I'm not really interested in doing the like grind. I'm not like quite built to do it like that. Some of the girls are really built for it, and every once in a while I go and I hang out with them and I try. But yeah, it's challenging. It's challenging, but I do think like as drag kings, it's good for us to stick together and to look out for each other. And we all do such different things, and some of us are more overlooked than others. So that's a goal that I think Pony has, and I definitely have in general as well.
Lovely. You said a lot of good stuff, but I'll get back. I'm going to put a pin on that later because I want to get back to you. You said you mentioned you were from Canada. You're Filipino too, right? Like you're from the
Yeah.
Philippines. Yeah. What I'm going to ask the dreaded like white person question as someone who's Arab and has gotten this question a lot. But how did you come to the States?
Yeah. I very much respect that question coming from you. And I mean, it's one I'm always happy to answer. I think my identity is complicated, um, because I'm like, yeah, I'm the grandchild of immigrants to Canada. So my grandparents were Filipino, moved to Canada in search of that kind of American dream in Canada, which definitely is an ideal that people seek. And they were able to build that for themselves. And I love Canada. I mean, I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, which is pretty much like the most beautiful place anyone could grow up. Fresh air, nature all around me. I grew up in a national park. Um, but I did grow up with a lot of white people, like white hippie town pretty much. And I just wasn't challenged enough artistically. I was always an artist. I was always like queer. I was always a weirdo. And I think I was just always seeking like a little bit more than that. Um, and I'm grateful that I found drag. Like there is not a huge drag community where I grew up, but my nearest city was Calgary, and I did have a good community there, and they like really supported me and helped me find my way. But I fell in love with Brooklyn drag from being online, with like other people who loved drag. I That's how I met AJ. Uh, we've been friends for I don't even know how long. Genuinely, like I knew him before I even like transitioned, before I was using the name that I know now. I don't even know if he remembers that, but yeah, I was able to like find the Brooklyn drag community um through the internet. I was on Tumblr, I was on Twitter, and I was like, oh, these are the people doing the kind of drag that I want to do. And I really identified with like art drag when I first started doing drag, because I have a fine arts background. I was going to undergrad for fine arts at the time. I was a painter. I was going to school for painting, and I kind of was naturally starting to like paint pictures of myself that were very like theatrical and like in a lot of makeup. I would dress up like my Filipino grandmother. And I think that was like early drag for me. But yeah, once I found out about Brooklyn drag, I was kind of like, I have to go there. I need to find a way to be there. And I was in school, and my school offered a kind of exchange program to go somewhere else in the world, like literally all over the world. And I really wanted to go to New York immediately. I was like, I need to do this. I need to go to New York. I was never really encouraged to leave my like safe home area. My parents like definitely wanted me to stick around. But I knew it's so cheesy. I knew I needed more. So I applied with this exchange program to go to New York, and they would not let me go to New York. Apparently, it was way too competitive. They would not even let me apply to the schools in New York. But they said you can go. We love your energy and your enthusiasm. So pick anywhere else you want to go. So I decided to go to Philadelphia. Um, and that was the first place that I started doing drag in America. I love the Philly drag scene. They really, really welcomed me. I was doing open sets every single week, and I made like a huge community of people that I'm honestly still really close with to this day. And Philly is such a close train or bus ride from New York. So I would come up to Brooklyn like every weekend and see all the shows that I had like only gotten to see on social media. I was traveling all the time and just never sleeping, just having the time of my life, doing school, doing drag. And I got booked to do this like open set charity show that Switch and Play was running. Uh, Switch and Play is like an amazing drag and burlesque collective in Brooklyn. They've been like running for such a long time, and historically have like so many drag kings. I think Drag Kings started that collective. So I loved Switch and Play, and I was so excited when they booked me to do this charity show. And there I met Evangeline, who I very like quickly fell in love with. Like I would say it was love at first sight in that dressing room for us. And that was what really sealed the deal for me. I was like, okay, I see what I want my life to look like. I want to be here in Brooklyn doing drag. I want to like be making art with this person who fits perfectly into my life plan. Like I need to find a way to make it happen. So yeah, we got together and we were like talking very logistically about how that was going to have to work for me as an immigrant. And we later ended up getting married because that was the most practical choice for us. Although, you know, I was flirting with her the very first day that we met and being like, I kind of want a green card marriage. Are you interested? And she was so down to joke about that with me. But I don't know if we were really joking because we really were like magnetically drawn to each other. I think we both like could visualize each other in our lives for a really, really long time. So yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind romance. And yeah, and then I was able to I'm able to stay here now because of that. I'm working on my immigration process right now, but I've been in New York. I had to go back to Canada for a little while. I got stuck there during the pandemic, during lockdown for a while, but I've been living in Brooklyn since 2021. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's so cool, especially like your relationship with Evangeline. Can you like for the audience like tell us who Evangeline is, aka Televangeline, and
Yes.
also because you guys do a lot of productions together as well. I'd love to talk about that as well. So let's just start off on who is she?
Yes. So Evangeline is she's my wife. She is another drag performer, trans woman. She her character is like a hysterical, evil Gwyneth Paltrow type, pyramid scheme, capitalist girl boss woman.
I love that.
Which I love, and it kind of complements my sort of like rotted faggot like man character really well. They're like kind of canonically together, but kind of toxically together. Although I would say that our relationship is quite wonderful and quite supportive. Yeah, we're really we don't actually perform together that often, although we've had a couple like iconic duets. I would say we did Pink Flamingos. We were, oh my God,
Wait,
Connie and Raymond.
hold on one second. You said you did a Pink Flamingos duet together?
Yes, we did a Pink
Okay.
Flamingo duet.
Well, like, well, sorry, like, not to get you off track, because like, I love John Waters and stuff, and like, there's a lot of scenes in that movie that you could recreate. What was the duet like for that?
Oh my God, it was so fun. So it was last Pride. It was a Pink Flamingos tribute show screening. So like we screened scenes of the movie and then we would fill in with our numbers, like different parts of it. And Eva and I were Connie and Raymond, and like they are so us. Those characters
Uh,
are just us. Like Eva's totally like the evil redhead. And you know, sometimes I like my character to be more of like a skeevy man. Like I have range. Like sometimes I'm more girly pop, sometimes I'm more like a gross kind of like guy. So we did the like crazy like toe sucking scene
oh,
where they're just like both in their little white underwear sucking on each other's feet and like telling each other how much they love each other. We did a kind of variation on it, and we both like wore like pleasers, and we're just like, you know, filleting the pleasers. It was amazing. It was wonderful. So we like to collaborate and do stuff like that every once in a while. Our characters are very different, so they don't always like cross over. But the way that we collaborate the most is, like you said, it's producing and curating drag shows, which we have done together for a really long time. Eva's been producing like longer than she's even done drag. She's like even as a teenager was like in music, like hosting events and stuff. So I came into it a bit later. And I never really thought I was like a good host or that I was very funny, but she has taught me a lot about how to do that. And we have a really good back and forth. She's like very absurd and I'm kind of like a bimbo. But we hold it together. We keep the show together. Right now our biggest production, we've had a lot of different stuff. We've had things that we tried to make take off and then didn't. We both kind of come from that like artsy drag background. But we're also interested in like actually having people in the audience enjoy our work. And that's not to say that you can't do art drag and have it be enjoyed, but I think we were both very into absurdism and like the idea that it's fine if the audience doesn't like what you're doing. And I think that's changed a little bit for both of us, just because I want us all to be having fun. That's like really like the spirit of what we do nowadays. So we have a show called Sex Change, and that's kind of been our like, you know, stroke of luck that it has really taken off. It's an idea that's like not brand new, but pretty much Sex Change is a show where all the drag kings come as drag queen personas, the drag queens come as drag king personas, and drag things come as other things. We've had like, I don't know, like that's a very, the actual definition is a lot looser than that, because we've had drag kings come as a different type of drag king. We've had like so many different things. We had someone come as a Christmas tree once. That was great. But it's really just a show that it's really all about challenging yourself to do something that you don't normally do. We've found that a lot of really established people in the scene want to do the show because they want the chance to like, yeah, get out of their comfort zones after, you know, sometimes a decade of doing the persona that they have worked on for so long. And I love that about the show. And I love having some like newer performers get like really wild and explore like different parts of their personas. Like some of them I'm like, I think you're gonna keep doing this after. I've seen a couple performers who were like not drag kings before, and then they did a drag king number, and I was like, I think you're gonna keep the mustache on after this. I know that I would, because yeah, so I come as like my drag queen persona, which has been really fun for me because there's a part of me that did always want to be a drag queen. And like, yeah, I draw a lot from like classic like pageant girls and like my favorite like trans women Miss Continentals. But at the end of the day, I still always wish that I had the mustache on. I always have like a mini identity crisis when I get in drag as purple, my drag queen persona, and I'm like, am I gonna love being purple? Does everyone love purple more than they love mauve? But at the end of the day, I want the mustache. I need the mustache.
Yeah.
I feel so much more beautiful. And that's how I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what I need to be doing. But Sex Change is it's really fun. It's a fun show.
Yeah. You need to keep the mustache because like that's like your stamp to me. I mean, like if you ever seen like one of those silhouettes of people where it's just their face, if you just had like the mustache, maybe a little bit a bow or something, that's mauve, you know.
Everyone would know. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned Sex Change too, which I was very excited about because I see you post about it and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, like you said, like it's probably not it's definitely not a new concept or anything like that. But I see you post about it a lot, and you're doing it. How often do you do Sex Change?
We do it every 2 months right now, which is honestly just what I can handle. Like, I think people would come and see it monthly, but I really like to put time into like what I'm producing. So if I have 2 months to work on it, even I can like manage it a lot easier.
Yeah, and it seems like it's being received really well because you got like you constantly like advertise it, so it seems like a lot of people are always coming back to it. And like you said, it's a way for people to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and maybe I don't know, explore something different about themselves, not just like their drag persona, but maybe like something within themselves, like, oh, I've never dressed this way before.
Absolutely. That definitely happens at Sex Change. I mean, I couldn't be happier with how well it's gone. Like, there was like a crazy rainstorm last September, and we still had people in the door, even though literally some people lost their homes that day. There were
Really?
they People still came out for sex change, which I really appreciate. We try to be like a community space, and I would say it's a very trans show. Almost everyone that has been in our cast is trans, and a lot of our audience is as well, because they're like, yeah, the people that are resonating with this idea. And I think it's really freeing for a lot of us to get to like kind of reclaim these identities, you know, because I'm a trans guy, like, yeah, getting to like live my full like feminine fantasy, even though that's not what I want to do in my everyday life. It's like really great. I know for Eva, like getting to like be like a man character and like figuring out what that means to her has been really wonderful. And I love her drag king persona, Evan Angel. Um, he's really great. He's a total schmooze. I love him.
Nice. I mean, um, yeah, it's a great opportunity for you guys to like explore that aspect of yourself, especially like with transness and everything. I've had conversations with like other kings, like who were thinking about like doing fem drag, like, and I just, you know, point them straight to you. I'm just like, look at this guy. He's doing all these like feminine looks and stuff like that. And like, he identifies as a drag king at the end of the day. And I just think that we need more of that. We need to like see more people like explore that, not just the, you know, no offense to RuPaul's Drag Race, but you know, we like I want to see more authentic and different kinds of drag than what's being produced on television. And that's why I like the Brooklyn scene a lot. And that's how I know so many Brooklyn drag queens and kings, specifically because of AJ Jordan that you mentioned earlier. I mentioned at the top of the show, like the word I had for AJ in Arabic. It's called Sheikh al Gabila, which is the clerk of the tribe. So my name, like there's a lineage in my name, kind of similar to like the drag lineage. Like it's my first name, my dad, then it's my dad's grandfather, my great great grandfather, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how Arabic names work. Back in the day, they didn't have birth certificates.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, you would go to the head of the tribe, the clerk of the tribe, and just off the name alone, they are able to tell you where you come from, because you might have the same name, but if you look into the middle name, like the fifth middle name or whatever, even if it's if you would call it middle anymore, you could figure out where you come from, what specific subsect of that like tribe you're from. And like for me, for example, like I would look up Al Tamali videos because I'm like, we're cousins at the end of the day. Like we have the same last name. So I can look at their like great great grandfather's name. I'm like, yeah, they're like a distant cousin. Like that's my great uncle or something. So like AJ is kind of like that to me. Like he could tell you where you're from, drag name, like just kind of piece all the Brooklyn drag family tree and like where
Oh,
everybody comes from.
no, you're so right. We call him kind of like the Brooklyn Drag Directory,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is, yeah, a similar idea that like he really like does know who everybody is, and he is really well informed, and he can connect people to each other really well, which is amazing. And yeah, that's such a cool kind of phenomenon. I think like names are interesting, and when I when I picked my drag name, I also changed my name to Mauve. So I go by Mauve in and out of drag,
Oh,
um, which is, you know, I sort of the like, and Mauve is my only name. I don't have a last name as an artist. But yeah, I do like have mixed feelings about the fact that I changed my name, just because it does sort of erase that like history culturally that is associated with my name. And you know, colonization in the Philippines has also like really erased like indigenous last names and stuff, um which is just interesting in general. But I think, yeah, like a person's name is very important. It can tell you so much about who you are now, but also so much about your history and your lineage, which I think is Yeah, that's really interesting that that's how it works for you with your family name.
Yeah, names are great. I have a complicated history with my name because, being queer and being Arab and someone who is a apostate. I left Islam many years ago. I'm not really welcome back there. So it's like I can't go back to where I was raised. I was born in Seattle, and my mom, she's white and she's from Spokane, but my father's from there. And
Yeah,
coming out at 16 in Saudi Arabia and like realizing like, oh, maybe Islam is not all that great. Like, not to bash Islam because
yeah,
Muslims, they get all the shit nowadays.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but like also I can't go back there, specifically Saudi Arabia, because of like all the laws over there. So
Mm,
it's very complicated. I'm not really connected with the tribe that much. So it's like, do I change my name? Should I like just keep that lineage of people that I don't really talk to anymore? And I think like there's weight to it because I do want to do drag one day. And actually my drag name would be my last name, just without the AL prefix, because it's Arabic. And when other Arabs see that, like I've realized it even like doing the show too, and like being on social media and stuff like that, when they see the last name, they might see Sid and they'll be like, oh, Sid. But then Al Tamali, they're like, that's a very Arabic name. And then they'll question me about it and they'll clock me. And there's weight to that and being like, oh, even with me, like seeing a specific drag queen in Lebanon. Her name is Sultana, and just knowing that someone like that exists, and like I think that's like just so cool. So I have a very complicated relationship with my name, but I like having the Arabic portion of it of my last name there, just to like remind people, like, hey, even though I speak pretty good English, and I am Arabic, and like spent most of my life over there. So, yeah, names are really interesting, especially coming like from the Philippines as well.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna change my name. I really do love it, and I love it for my drag because I think it does suit me. Like, um, yeah, the like reason I chose Mauve as a name was just to kind of like nod to the way that throughout history shades of purple were sort of used to signify queerness in a kind of secret language and code. Like lavender was definitely used that way. So mauve was sort of my version of that because mauve means purple in French, and I'm also French Canadian. I'm half Filipino, half French Canadian. But I do think it is complicated for me to only have one name and only like represent sort of one part of myself through my name in that way. I have a Filipino last name and a French last name, and definitely when people hear my last name, they're like, "Oh, of course." They it's a very recognizable Filipino last name.
Yeah,
But
where are you from originally?
so I'm
That's the,
from
oh,
Canada,
I
and I
mean,
was born in.
oh no, like well, well, I was referencing like when people figure out like your last name and it's like obvious, like you probably get that question a lot, like, oh, where are you from originally? And I
Yes,
have to be like,
absolutely.
ugh, it's so at this point, like I'm like, ugh, I'm from Spokane. I've been here for 11 years. Like I haven't gone back to Saudi Arabia in years. So I'm like, stop, stop.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love that like other Filipino people can usually tell I'm Filipino. I think that um what also happens, my last name is also like a Spanish last name, and it's a running joke in my friend group that I am not beating the Latina allegations
Oh.
because people always think that I am Latino, which honestly like I you know the Philippines was colonized by Spain. Like I think there's an argument there for Hispanic for sure, in a way, and like a lot of the culture bled into the Philippines for sure. But it is kind of a funny running joke. Um, Also because I was on the front like page spread of the online article by Latina magazine about Bushwig last year. I'm like the picture, like huge. And it just says Latina, and then there's a picture of me. And
Oh,
I love Latin music, and I love Shakira. I perform a lot of Shakira. So it has become like a running joke that I'm not beating the Latina allegations. But I love my Latin friends, and like we have so much that we can connect on because our cultures are honestly very similar. So it's really great. It's really great. But yeah, I people like always like struggle to like know what I am and know where I come from, which I think is just like, a quintessential mixed person kind of game.
oh yeah, for sure. One thing that you mentioned a lot, and like we've talked about throughout this episode, is a lot of people in your life that influence you. Show Pony, Evangeline, AJ Jordan. We'll talk about God Complex in a little bit too. But in an interview you did with Thoughtacy.com, you said that a lot of your art in your fine arts practice is about your large drag family and those people that inspired you to like get into drag. Besides all the work that we just mentioned, like with your wife and with Show Pony and all that, can you share a favorite moment in your art where the core piece was about that found family that you created?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my fine arts practice has become a lot more about community over the years, especially during COVID lockdown kind of times, when I either was completely separated from my community or I was like very, very uh, isolated with them. Um, yeah, I consider my drag family to be pretty much like anyone that I have worked with in a way.
Mhm.
We may not like technically be like family by name, but I consider myself to have family in Philadelphia. Those first like few people who were kind to me, I consider them my family. I started doing drag there with Little Peace, who is one of my dearest and closest friends. Um, so I have my Philly family, I have my Calgary family, the people back home. And then when I met Eva, I got kind of adopted into her drag family. She has like a really big drag family in upstate New York, in New
Mhm.
Paltz. And for a very brief time, we were living there uh, with a bunch of other drag performers, and we all lived together in this one beautiful Victorian mansion. It's a long
Wow.
story how we were able to live there together, but during a time when we pretty much could not have public drag shows at all, we were doing some shows in the park, but like we couldn't really see any other people. We were all living in this house together, doing drag shows in our living room, COVID testing literally every week before we would have our parties to make sure that we would keep everyone safe. Um, because we had some immunocompromised people living with us. And it was, yeah, a really amazing experience. I think everyone in the house that I lived with who was not trans when we moved in, everyone was trans by the time we moved out of living with each other. And yeah, and just in general, I have a wonderful drag community from upstate. And it was something I never expected to find people who were doing like a really, really high caliber of drag, but everyone was different. Um, Show Pony is a part of that family as well. Venus is one of my close sisters. She's a Brooklyn drag queen who came from upstate. Um, and yeah, like they're all my family. And my I did grad school during the pandemic during all of this time, and the last like installation work that I made was about the experience of like living together with those performers and just about queer community in general, because we unfortunately we had to leave that living situation because the mayor of New Paltz bought the house
Oh,
and kicked all of us out, which I think was honestly like a necessary motivator for Eva and I to come back to Brooklyn and like start making what we're doing now happen.
mhm.
Um, but it was definitely like a sad situation, and it felt a little bit like unfair and unjust in a way to kick a bunch of trans people out of a place that they were living, of a community that they had. Um, so I made an installation and video work where I I referenced different parts of this like Victorian house. I was referencing like the really tacky bathroom tiles in one of the bathrooms. It was a pink, blue, and white tile that like we called the trans rights bathroom because it was pink, blue, and white. So I made a dress for Eva that was based off of that tile. I think I have it hanging up here
Oh, lovely.
somewhere. So I made all these pieces that were both like sculptures that referenced actual like furniture in the house, but they were also wearable pieces.
Oh,
Um, so I made a like long curtain valance kind of piece for a show pony, and he wore it on his arms for a performance. I made myself like a rug that I could also wear as a caftan. And it had like an image of the house on it with like Filipino textile patterns mixed in. Um, it was like, yeah, it was a big installation, and we each got to perform in my installation, and I turned it into a video work because at the time we couldn't even have a live performance. But yeah, that's like something that I made, and I made it sort of just thinking about the way that in my life I've been a part of so many queer communities, but for some reason they have never been able to last. Um, but I think that's kind of an inherent part of queer community, something that is actually not just a negative at all. It's like a positive and a negative. It allows for a lot of flexibility. Um, I have so many people that I barely speak to anymore that I love dearly that I never get to see in different countries, like in different parts of the world. Um, and it reflects like ways that queer communities have been displaced over time, but our resilience and our ability to like keep moving and keep forming new communities and looking out for each other when nobody else will really. So it was kind of a bittersweet piece about that feeling, and I have very much like found a community here. Eva and I have adopted some new drag children,
oh,
which is amazing. And we're still like connected with some of our drag family from upstate. Like I work with Pony all the time. I work with Venus all the time. I think like we're all branches and roots from the same kind of family lineage, and it's like really amazing to see everyone thrive, even if we're not like all together anymore. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. What I love about this episode so far, because like, usually I like to make the focus about like the person that I'm talking to and their history. And from what I'm getting from this interview, like your drag family specifically, like really shaped like who you are as a person, not just, you know, artistically, but, personality wise and giving you like a home and like a place to be. Like, I think that's like a big thing when it comes to like coming from a different country, even if it's like, Canada, what, like it's just like
Yeah.
up the way, but still you're leaving your community over there behind and you're coming into a different country where like you don't know anybody and you're excited because it's a new opportunity, but like there's like that isolation of like, oh, I don't I don't know anybody here. Like I definitely got that when I came to the States also to study in college. It's just like just trying to find that space and like those people who are just like me. And it just feels like the theme of this episode pretty much is like how much your family, your drag family specifically, has shaped you. And in the case of like Eva, like you literally married her. Like she's your wife.
Yeah. I think that I would not be who I am without these people. And I'm also like I'm in an interesting position as an immigrant, because I am coming from Canada, and like most of the time people are like, why would you ever choose to come here when you had socialized healthcare, which is a good point. The
Mhm.
things that you just love. But it was really, yeah, the fact that I fell in love with this community and I found home here. I saw exactly the place where I fit, and so I wanted to take that place. But another thing that's really important to me is just like honoring that community and paying my dues as well, because ultimately like I am a gentrifier in this city, like I am a transplant. And so many people come to New York with the idea that like they're going to get everything that they want because anything is possible here. but I think it's really important that like you are looking at what the community actually needs and like trying to do right by your community. um I don't, it's complicated. I don't think like there's any exact ethical answer about if it is right to even move here genuinely, but I try my best to like honor the community that has given me so much, and I try to give back to them because of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's very important to get involved with the community. I mean, I'm kind of lacking in that regard when it comes to living in Spokane, but at the same time,
Yeah, that's
Spokane's a very small, it's a big city. I think it's one of the other big cities in Washington state. Um, but there's really not much going on, and I'm trying my best to like give back to the community, but I also want to move.
yeah,
But
that's
yeah, so um, I feel like I relate to you in that regard too, especially like when you moved to like Philly, but like you really want to do Brooklyn because Brooklyn's got, it's very cool over there. That's how I feel about Seattle. I'm like, dang, Seattle's very cool, and they got a
yeah.
lot of cool queens and kings over there. So um, I do want to talk about. I want to keep going on your fine arts thing, your fine arts background, because I did find I wanted to talk specifically about this one piece that you did that really like kind of took my breath away. We'll have a picture of it on here. Hopefully YouTube doesn't take it down because it's not nudity, but like you mentioned in the post that like your ass was showing, so it's like it is you. You're wearing this. What do they call it? Like I can't remember. Like the asylum where they like you know like
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I know the piece. Yeah, it's like a straight jacket.
a straight jacket. Yeah, you had a straight jacket on. It had a breast on it, and it was a series of different pictures of you trying to get out of that straight jacket, and then the photo series kind of ends with you like with your top surgery, and like I feel I've never really had anything like just pictures just being like wow, I know exactly what he was trying to say. Like because like yeah, it's kind of on the nose. But like um that's what I like specifically because I'm like it's on the nose, but it's so good. Like it's really good. Do you want to talk about the piece a little bit that you did?
For sure. Yeah, that it's very sweet that you looked into my work. I really appreciate it because my fine arts practice is very important to me, although like I've been focused a lot more since being in school, like on being in the community and performing and like doing stuff with other people. But yeah, that piece I made it, I think it came from a very genuine place that I was in my life. I'm very wary about like the way that people consume trans art and they consume like the cliches of our lives. And when I was making that work, yeah, I was aware it was on the nose, and I also was like contending with like the way in which other people were going to take it. But it just came from a very genuine like place of reflection for me. So it felt worth it to do it. Um, but yeah, I was thinking, yeah, just about, yeah, I had just had top surgery probably like a few, I don't know how long before. Yeah, probably like a few months before that. And I was really feeling like so much more comfortable with myself for the first time ever. Really like, I think my drag was very held back by me not having top surgery. Once I had it, I could just like really express myself way more than I ever did before. I felt more confident dancing. I felt more confident being naked. I just like, and that's such a part of my character and my drag. It's like burlesque is a big part of it as well. So yeah, it was something that I desperately needed to have happen for me. And I was lucky to be able to do that while I had health insurance in school. So that was major for me. But yeah, that piece, it was, yeah, a reflection on that. I was thinking about a straight jacket for sure. But I didn't want it to be like an overtly like negative, like and yeah, cliche vision of a straight jacket with like the buckles and the white. But I would still wanted it to be like a genuinely constricting garment. a lot of my performance work has to do with like putting my body through a physical struggle. And I do need that struggle to be real, I guess, to like convey my message. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to think about like the body that I had before, not as much as like a prison, but as like a costume, as a kind of like Muppet body that like wasn't mine, but it was cute. And I wish that I could just take it on, like put it on or take it off whenever I want. But that's like a challenging thing to do. Um, so yeah, I mean, I haven't talked about that work in a long time, so um it's hard for me to remember everything, but I was making a lot of other work with that same fleece material at the time. I was like really interested in like creating a whole world out of that pink fleece. Because it yeah, reminded me of like childhood, of like stuffed animals, of like Sesame Street and the Muppets. Because my work always has a playful tone to it. I'm never like 100% serious, and like, you know, a lot of my work is about difficult stuff, but I love drag and I love that drag like can put a kind of playful twist on those things. So I think yeah, that's what I was thinking about. And I actually filmed a video of me getting out of the straight jacket piece. I did it through video, and then it just gave too much away, I felt like. So I picked out stills, and I thought the stills were a lot more impactful than the video
Oh
I would
yeah.
watch. And I do all my work in drag because my I don't know, Mauve is the artist. Like I'm not really. I mean, I should probably work on like being a person a little bit more out of drag, but I'm really only interested in my drag persona and exploring that through my art. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, like their drag persona is them. I've also met people who like their drag persona is completely separate than the person that they are. Um, like as like we talked about earlier, like a lot of your drag is influenced by the people around you, and the people around you also do drag in some capacity. So I don't think you need to work on your like who you are outside of it. I think
Yeah. I mean,
Mauve,
I think it's important to like take care of the person that you are,
that's
but I
true.
also I mean this so genuinely. If I could look like this every single day, if it didn't take 3 hours for me to like get in drag, I would. I would just live like this.
Yeah.
I feel like in the 90s, like there were girls who just were drag queens all the time. And maybe it's because they were trans, or maybe it wasn't. I don't even, you know, there wasn't like the exact same language to just define that at the time. But like that is who I am. Like
Yeah.
I love looking like this all the time.
Yeah. And I've seen your out of drag pictures, and you're still serving out of drag as well.
Yeah, I still like do a little baby face, like baby Mauve face. Because like I love expressing myself that way. I think I like can't help it. If I really am going out with no makeup, I'm like low key hoping nobody recognizes me. I put on sunglasses, I put on my mask, my COVID mask, and I a hoodie, and I just sit at the back because I also am a huge drag fan, so I love to just watch shows.
Mhm.
But sometimes I just like don't want if I really don't want to be the persona, I like don't even want to talk to anyone. I just
Yeah.
want to be like because I'm also a bit like of an introvert, honestly. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I it's hard to define that when my career is literally being social, but
Mhm.
sometimes I really like to not talk to anyone and just be antisocial.
Oh no, I get that. I mean, whenever I'm on the bus, like it's hoodies up. Sometimes I
Mhm.
won't shower just to like really blend in with like all the
I
other people.
oh, I definitely do that. I'll rot for like a few days until I have to be Mauve again, you know?
Exactly. I do have another fine arts thing that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, oh yeah, I see it. This one's going to be in your chat. Probably cut this out. So I have one more here. It's kind of a throwback. Um, so can you tell me a little bit about this?
Let me look. The photo is loading. Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah.
Yes, total throwback. Oh my God, that's my drawing of Candy Muse.
hmm
Um, I honestly like, I mean, I think it's still cute. I think it's a cute drawing. I don't think it's like my most conceptually deep piece of work or anything, but you know, like so many people, it's interesting because honestly, I think Show Pony was this a little bit, and also our drag sister Andromeda uh, is an artist as well. We, a lot of us like who enter the drag scene, we before we start doing drag, we want like some way to interact creatively with the art form. And it's so funny because I now know so many people who started out just like drawing drag queens,
Mhm.
and maybe it was like the local ones that they could go see if they could go see them, or like me when I was like a teenager, like I couldn't go see any drag. So I was watching Drag Race and I was going online and I was engaging with drag in that way, doing what I love to do, which is making art. So I think like I tried to take on one of those drawing challenges where you make a piece of art every day. This was supposed to be a part of a 365-day drawing challenge. I promptly like failed probably within a couple months, but I knew I was not going to be able to achieve 365. I was pretty just happy to challenge myself to do any amount. Because I honestly I'm not that good at drawing, and I think I really wanted to get better. And I only cared about drawing drag queens because I literally think that drag performers are the most stunning and beautiful people, and I'm very aesthetically driven by like the exaggeration of it all. So yeah, this was a drawing I did of Candy Muse
Mhm.
way back. I'm such a vintage whore. Like I love vintage clothes. I love vintage comics. I love vintage, you know, like old movies, vintage movies. I don't know if that's what they're called, old
Oh yeah.
movies. Um, so I've always like been into the kind of like pop art 50s 60s style. So this was my version of Candy Muse as like a kind of Warhol. No, this would be Liechtenstein more style
Mhm.
of like pop art. And I think she commented on this and said that she liked it, which was
Mhm.
very sweet. It was a big deal for me back then because I loved to make art for drag performers because it was my way of like engaging with them, especially when I was shy and didn't have like drag of my own that I was doing yet. So I would make these drawings, I'd post them on social media, I would tag the drag queen in case they ever saw it, or if I ever got to meet them, I would actually give it to them in person. I only had a few rare occasions where like Rude Girls would come to my home city, and I think that I think Sasha Velour has a painting that I made her from forever ago. It probably has my dead name on the back of
Uh,
it, and I think she still has it in her house, which is so sweet. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's I'm like I'm not embarrassed that I like my origin is partially a Drag Race stan origin. Like I love old Drag Race. I still love it. You know, I owe a lot of my career to the fact that like Drag Race is popular, and it genuinely was like my first way to engage with drag. So I was a little fanboy in my house, a little teenage fanboy in my house, doing drawings of all my favorite girls. Yes.
yeah, no, I love it. I think it's way better than anything I could have ever drawn. And I used to draw really well when I was a kid. I love Candy Muse as well. In my head, in my like what is it? What do we call it when parasocial? I have a parasocial relationship with Candy Muse. Like
Oh my
we're
god.
yeah, we're married. Like in my
I believe
fantasy.
it. I could see it.
Yeah. So no, I love it. I love the aesthetic. I've seen the other ones, but like I picked the Candy Muse one because like I love candy and you know.
I love Candy. I will never get tired of seeing Candy Muse on my television.
Mhm. And we need her more. And she's coming up. Like she has a few shows coming out this year. What was it? The Villains, House of Villains coming
Yes.
up. Very excited about that. There's also Slaycation, like the winter
Oh,
thing.
okay. I haven't heard of that one. That is iconic.
Yeah, it's her, Lux, Jada Shada Hudson, I think another Canadian drag queen, a few other people. They're in a cabin. It's wintertime and like they're living in this cabin. So I think it sounds sickening.
Oh, I will be tuning in for sure. Oh my God. I
For
love that.
sure.
And you know, Candy Muse is an OG Brooklyn icon. She's a diva and I love her.
No, I love her too. Going back to collaborations and stuff like that. We mentioned God Complex and Show Pony, you guys also host a drag king show called Fagnet.
Yeah.
Tell me like the inception about it, because I know Show Pony specifically talks about, and I think you two have talked about, you know, kind of the lack of shows that drag kings have had and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, a drag king show. I think honestly that like, that's a problem everywhere. A lot of people just don't
Yeah.
book drag kings anywhere. Talk about its inception, because like it seemed like from what I've seen, like you've only done one show so far. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we've done one. We have one coming up the very last day of Pride this year, but I can already tell it's like just the right time. You know, that's a lot of like what producing is about. It's just being in the right place at the right time with the right idea. And yeah, Bagnet came about because I guess all three of us were like independently trying to make a drag king show happen at some like other venues. And we just didn't realize that we were all doing that. There's like an amazing drag king collective called the Cake Boys in Brooklyn. And they have like kind of run the drag king scene, the main drag king scene for a while, but they have been on a little bit of a hiatus, partially because it's really hard to get venues to support drag king shows. They were doing some work in Manhattan and stuff. But yeah, in the past year, they've kind of not been working as much, and I really realized there was no consistent drag king show in Brooklyn, not a single one. Like probably around November or so last year, I noticed that there was not any consistent drag king shows in Brooklyn, and I was like, that's so crazy. So I started pitching an idea for a kind of mainstream drag king show to a few different bars, and I didn't get anywhere pretty much at all. And you know, I have a good producer resume, but I don't have like I'm not like famous. That's fine. You know, I'm realistic about that. And you know, um, yeah, I pitched a few different places, and then by like January, February, I was like, I don't know, should I even do this anymore? I started noticing a few other drag king shows actually did pop up, but more in like the alt scenes, and I'm definitely a part of the alt scene. But I can work in the mainstream because you know, at the end of the day, people like to just see anybody do Lady Gaga. Like they don't really care who it is, if you're a drag king or not, as long as you're doing it and you're slaying. They kind of love it. So I noticed a few other drag king shows pop up, but nothing that like was catered to a mainstream drag audience, like the kind of people who are going to see any other drag show on a Saturday night. And that was really like when I joined Pony, and I was like, I really want to make this happen. I think we can make this happen, and I think we are ready to make it happen at Come On Everybody, which is my favorite gay bar in the city in Brooklyn, because it has like the best stage. It really is like true community vibes. The people who come to shows there want to see drag. They really support drag. I have another show at Come On, but yeah, you know, we've been a bit intimidated to work there because I didn't want to bring something there that was not going to do well. I wanted to like, yeah, really do a good job. And when Pony and I were talking, we found out that God Complex had also been thinking about starting a drag king show at Come On. And we figured like, let's not be competition to each other. Let's just join forces. Artistically, it really makes sense. We all bring something different to the table. Yeah, and I guess the idea was to create a space where we could make our art the way that we each choose to, but also cater a little bit to, yeah, the kinds of people who just are going to see a mainstream drag show. We get to challenge them a little by showing them stuff like that might be out of what they think about when they think of drag, like out of the range of that. But we're also not like so far left of fields that like we're still understandable to them. And we kind of saw it as an opportunity to bring in drag kings from all of these different parts of the scene. I think as long as the show keeps going, we'll definitely have some of the Cake Boys as a part of it because I love those boys. We'll definitely like get some people from the different parts of like the alt scene in Brooklyn. Like I want to make it a stage for everyone. But at its core, like, yeah, I honestly I do get it because I think we have a tendency to do this. I think drag kings have been othered by the community so many times that like sometimes I think people just get jaded and they go, well, if you don't like me, that's fine. I'm just going to do my own thing for the people who do like me.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes like we can kind of other ourselves. We can like create a narrative that does exist, but like we can like feed the narrative that like we're not like drag kings and people who like drag queens. Sorry, oh my god, we're not like drag queens, and the people who like drag queens won't like us. But I don't think that is true. At least in my experience, it hasn't been because a lot of the shows that I do, it's not people who really have a good idea about drag kings, but they do like me because I do things that like they can understand. I look good, I lip sync well, I do music that they like to hear. So they do like me. And I think Pony's had the same experience. Like he's really broken into the mainstream because he has a little bit of mainstream accessibility. A little, like he's still definitely alt, but
Yeah.
I think we all are. God Complex is always working in the fine arts, he's working in the circus scene. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what Fagnet is supposed to be, and we've been so lucky that it's been really well received. It seems like the right time to have a show like this, and I hope that it will continue to do well. Evangeline is our DJ because she's also a great DJ and really like got a good ear for music, and she loves like boy music, like
Uh,
so she can put together some really great drag roulettes with all boy music. That's what we do. We do drag roulettes with all boy music. If you want to hear a girl song, you pay extra, and then they can to have a girl song, which is really fun. So we're definitely going to do some more of that for the one at the end of this month.
oh, that's sickening. And for the first show, it was just you, Show Pony, and God Complex. Is it going to be the same next?
We actually have the opportunity to have a special guest this time,
Ooh.
which is amazing. I think we're hoping to have at least one guest every time, but if we start making more money, who knows? It could grow bigger, for sure. So we're gonna have the iconic, legendary drag king Kay James from Switch and Play in this show. He's been a big supporter of us and all of our careers. And yeah, I mean, I don't think he always gets his flowers, but he is one of the longest working drag kings and one of the most talented ones at what he does. So I am so excited and honored that he's going to be a part of it. He agreed. I never thought he would. He agreed to be a part of the drag roulette, which is a kind of like part of the show where we impromptu get songs played to us by the DJ and we don't know what they are and you just have to jump up on stage and do it. He is like K James is such a pro. I would never have expected him to do something like so spontaneous. That's kind of us like young eager drag kings kind of game. Like we like to play our drag roulettes, we like to
Mhm.
drink and we like to party very late. So I'm so honored that he's gonna do it. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be yeah, also like him pushing himself out of his comfort zone, which I think will be incredible.
Lovely. I have a few more questions for you before we get to the lightning round section of the show. I want you. We've talked about a bunch of your shows that you've produced. I need you to pick your favorite child. Which would you choose? Sex Change, Fagnet, or Knickknacks, which you do every third Thursdays?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, Knickknacks is every third Saturday
Oh,
at
yeah.
Dromedary. Oh my goodness, that's hard. Well, this is so silly. I'm so pretentious and dumb. I would say that my favorite show is one I haven't even produced yet because I know like the perfect show that encapsulates like everything that Eva and I do is still to come. That's like what I really want. I really want to have something where we each get to be ourselves because I love Sex Change, but it's challenging to never get to be Mauve
Mhm.
at that show. I adore Fagnet because I love working with those boys, and I love Knickknacks because it's very like family vibes. Like it happens at one of my favorite local bars. It's like a queer co-op owned bar, so the bartenders actually own the bar, which is amazing for like workers' rights and like this place is so capitalist. It's really great to like support a bar where like the workers literally seized the means of production. So I love that show. It's like all my friends come to that show. Everyone who's like just wanting to have a good time comes to that show. So it holds a dear place in my heart. It's my longest running show. But yeah, like I said, I think my favorite show will be the one that I get to produce as a result of all of these. A show where Eva and I get to be ourselves. We don't have to be other personas, where we get to like do some of our weirder stuff, our artsy stuff, where our community like really comes out specifically for us, not just for an amazing concept, which is not at all what any of the shows are, but it's just like, yeah, I still think my best show is yet to come. And I adore all the ones that I produce, but I can't wait to like see everything else I do in the future. Um, and you know, Eva and I always say we're going for legend, not for star. I'm not looking to have like my big break anytime soon. I'm just hoping to like keep honing my craft, keep honing like the shows that I produce until I get to create something that's like really long lasting and special. And definitely something that involves all of my community, that has, you know, an opportunity for me to book my friends in Philly, to have Venus, to have Show Pony, to have like all of my family involved. And it's definitely gonna happen. It'll happen one day for sure. And I get to do a little bit of that already for all of my shows.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about like you wanting to be legendary, just recent, like, well, recently last year, I think like a couple months ago, I'm not sure when this happened exactly, but like you were nominated actually for at the top of the show. We mentioned you were nominated for a glam for best drag king in New York.
Yeah.
So your legend is like building up. What was it like getting that nomination?
Oh my goodness, I really didn't expect it to. I'm not trying to be uh fake humble because I know that I'm good at what I do, but um this is such a huge scene, so it was a big honor to feel like I was recognized by the people who work in this scene as like one of the top drag kings. I definitely did not expect to win at all, and I did not expect to even be nominated, so it's such an honor to be nominated, and amazing that Show Pony got to win this year because he has really worked his ass off to become the best drag king in this scene. I think it was very well deserved. But yeah, it was really wild. And it, I mean, I will say I think I was smart choosing to be a drag king, genuinely, because it's just the drag queen scene is very oversaturated, and there's just a lot less of us boys, and there's not like that many of us who are like working consistently. So yeah, I think my chances were a little higher than some people to get to be nominated, but it's still absolutely an honor. And you know, a institution like the Glam Awards doesn't mean everything to me. It's not the only thing that determines my worth like at all. But it just was a really good step. They didn't even have a drag king category for many years. So it's just great to see drag kings being recognized. And I don't know if I will ever win it, and I don't know that that's like important to me, but it's really cool to get to be recognized with all those other boys who are incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the attitude I have. Next year, we're gonna take out all
I
the
know.
drag
Well,
kings. We're gonna fight them all.
Pony won his, and then he was so drunk he came up to me and he was like, "Next year, you Mauve. Next year it'll be you." And I was like, "Thanks, buddy." I think maybe it'll take me a couple years to get there, to get to the top spot, but again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the idea that like it takes a while to get all the things that you want, and I'm like I said, I want to pay my dues. I want to like just like be a part of it. Yeah.
Sickening. Since we are talking about next year, the last question I did have was, where is Mauve in a year? Like, what's he up to in a year? Like, what are some things that you, because you talked about wanting to do a show that you haven't gotten to produce yet. So is that going to happen next year, or is there something on the horizon for you that you're trying to work towards?
That's a great question. I feel so lucky. I've gotten to do a lot of the shows that are put on by people that I really admire. Um, I mean, I'm excited to do Bushwig. That's coming up in the fall. It's going to be my third one, and Bushwig is like such an amazing stage to be on. So I'm super excited about making something of my own. Eva and I did it as a duet last year, so I'm excited to bring something of my own to that. I don't think I have concrete goals. I'm a very like perfectionist type person, so I'm always like I need to work on this, I need to work on that. Um I hope that my show with Eva, that is this like ideal drag show that I have, that I don't have a lot of concrete goals. Like I said, I'm just waiting for the right moment for things to be right. I think I will know when like my audience is ready to like have us do our own thing. I think I will, yeah, I think I will know only when it happens, pretty much, and when I'm really excited about it. But I'm not in a rush to make anything happen. I know that what I really want is to like keep honing my aesthetic. There's still so much I don't know about my character that I want to figure out. I I'm also a designer. I like sew everything that I wear, and I sew a lot of stuff for other people. So I just want to keep honing my craft. That's like my biggest goal. And I think if I do that, the other things that I dream of may happen for me. I think I will get to work on some big stages. I hope that I'll get to work in an art institution again. I got to perform at the Brooklyn Museum with my show A Plus, which is an all Asian drag show and collective. So I hope I get to do some more stuff like that. But I think the only way to make that happen is to keep hitting the dance studio, working on my dancing, working on hair. I've been learning how to style hair, working on my aesthetic, and just understanding who Mauve as a brand is, because I think that's still not super clear to me yet. But I'm so excited to find out more about him and to, yeah, keep making shows where I include the people that I love and the up and comers of this scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like you're such a big inspiration. Like I like hearing your story and seeing like the work that you put into like create a positive community, not just like for queer people, but like for trans people and trans people who kind of don't fit inside the box necessarily of like mainstream drag. Like that's such a I love stuff like that. I mean, like I mentioned before, um, I reference you a lot when I talk to other people. I'm like, look what he's doing over there. Like this is like someone doing like what you would normally not see in a drag king. And he's thriving. I mean, you might not understand your character fully, but like I feel like I'm able to like talk about it, which you're succeeding. And the fact that like you're still exploring yourself, like I'm so excited to see like where you kind of go from here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think as an artist, my career, I hope for it to be very long, and I hope to always be learning and growing and changing throughout like the rest of my career. I hope I'm one of those people that continues to do drag pretty much as long as my body and skin will let me. That is how much I love doing it. And yeah, I appreciate your support so much and the kind things you've said. I really like when you were replying to some of my Instagram stories, I was like, this seems like someone that I should get to know better. And I'm so glad that like that has fostered this opportunity. And um, yeah, I hope that like you get to make the things that you want to happen come true. Like doing this podcast is definitely a huge step in doing that, because you're getting to connect with like other members of the queer community. So I really respect what you're doing, is what I'm trying to say. And the respect we have is mutual for sure.
Yeah, I respect you and you respect me. I love that. I think it's funny because like a lot of drag performers, like, because I just follow drag performers too, like not just the Brooklyn people, but just drag performers in general.
Yeah,
And they
I can
always
tell.
and they follow me back, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder if you're following me back because my profile says I'm an award nominated like podcast or something like that. But no, I love drag. I mean, drag. Uh, it's I always envision myself in media. Like when I look at people, like even though I don't necessarily like connect to um like that person in like personal ways, like drag to me, like it's like a whole other thing. Like it's kind of like a fantasy in my brain, like of that of someone who is confident and powerful and beautiful, whether it's like drag kings or drag queens or whatever. And it's just like I felt like as a kid um, the opposite of that, especially like because I was born in Seattle, but then I moved to Saudi Arabia, so I was very like isolated. My Arabic wasn't great and stuff like that. So it was like I felt very isolated and othered. And so when I discovered Divine, like from Hairspray and stuff like that, um, there was like a sense of power that I liked in that. At the time, I didn't realize like what that was until I saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I came to the States for college, and I was like,
God,
oh,
my favorite movies ever.
yeah, Frankenfurter, like really changed my life.
Oh my god, truly, same.
hmm So, yeah, I mean, like, I love drag. And like, I think over the years also, I've really developed an appreciation for it after I came out as non binary and like kind of distanced myself from my father. It was like, I really got to open up more. So, like, while I did like RuPaul's Drag Race pretty early on, like, once I started getting into it and then like getting into like my own community and like what we do, um, it gave me a real appreciation for it. And like the first time I ever put makeup on too, it was just like, dang, this is actually hard. Cause I think I was one of those people that was like, oh, anyone can do this. This is so easy. And then turns out it's not. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I appreciate your support and I love supporting you and other people like you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important for us as drag performers to like give love back to the people who are supporting us. Um, Especially like during COVID, I made some like really dear friends who would come into my Instagram lives and stuff when even I used to do like a drag race recap show together and there would be like two people there. And like I think of those people so fondly. So when I saw you like interacting with my stuff and I was like, "Oh, you're not even from here. Like you've never even been to my show, but you're excited about me." And that just means a lot to me. So yeah.
Mhm. The best way to support drag is like through their social media if you don't tip them.
No, absolutely. And like yeah, and you've given me this opportunity to come chat with you, which I was not following you back just because I saw a podcast, but it never hurts. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like when you put good vibes out into the world, which I felt like you had, I was like, yeah, this is
Lovely.
definitely somebody I want to keep my eye on. So
Lovely. I love that. Well, we are at the end of the show and we have some lightning questions to get around to. Are you ready to do those?
yeah, let's do it.
All right. There are a series of 5 questions I like to ask us each and every week. They're fun. They're not so quick because we'll talk about them forever. Let's see, that's where Sigourney Beaver like made
Got
fun
you.
of me. She was like, you need to call it something else. I was like, well, this has kind of been this way for 3 years. So are you ready, Mauve?
Yes, I am ready. I'll try to be concise, but I'm such a blabber.
Oh, go ahead. Like talk as much as you want. Question number one, describe a perfect day.
Oh my God, I'm a beach kid. I love the beach. I mean, I'm from Canada, so I never really went to the beach growing up. People would probably think that my love for the beach in New York is embarrassing because it's not a real beach, but I don't care. I love it.
Mhm.
My perfect day would probably be like getting up really early, going to Coney Island and tanning for like the first half of the day under the sun in my swimsuit, and then and I guess in this ideal scenario, I'm also in drag. I don't know why that would be feasible for me to be like tanning at the beach in drag, but this is my fantasy. And then like the second half of the day, I'm eating a Nathan's hot dog. They have frozen vodka Red Bulls at Coney Island. I'm drinking a frozen vodka Red Bull and I'm going on the log flume ride and just like living my full like commercial like skincare commercial full drag, but I still look amazing right after. That's like probably my ideal day with friends, with Eva, with like a group of other queer people. Yeah.
Yeah, that that's like the most New York thing that I think I've ever heard. Like going to Coney Island and stuff like that. That actually reminded me of like a picture that you had of it's funny that you mentioned Coney Island because like you did a photo shoot of you like it was kind of a muscle man thing on the chest that was written in training, don't kiss me. Do you love Coney Island?
I am obsessed with Coney Island. I love Coney Island history. It has a very queer history, kind of been a place for like queer people to gather. and beaches in general are just like a place that the government can't regulate as strongly as other places. So Coney Island has like a big queer cruising history. Yeah, I think because of the sideshow being a place like where people who were othered from society could like make careers, that's like kind of an inherently queer thing, and it's been like a place for queer people in a way. And Coney Island has like history as a queer cruising ground because parks and like beaches and stuff are less able to be regulated spaces by the government. So they have been like places where queer people have been able to like, yeah, meet and hook up like throughout history.
Nice. I love Coney Island. I mean, like, yeah, Coney Island history is kind of crazy, but I was playing Spider-Man 2, and you can go to Brooklyn, and there's a lot of scenes in Coney Island. And I'm like, oh, I just want to go to New York in general. I think it's like it'd be so much fun.
You should come out. Yes.
Yes, we'll work on it. I for sure. Hotels are expensive though.
It's true.
Question number two: what's a song that describes your life right now?
A song that describes my life right now. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think if I thought about it deeply, I could probably find something meaningful, but I'm loving listening to Bodyguard by Beyonce because it just feels like my song of the summer. We're having fun, we're being cute. I'm a little bit country because I grew up in Western Canada. Um, and it's a love story, and I'm definitely living my love story, making my dreams come true. Yeah, I'll pick that. I'll pick that for now.
Nice. I love it. Is Bodyguard like that's on Cowboy Carter, right?
Yeah, on her new album.
Okay. Nice, nice. Question number three. What's your third favorite movie?
I love movies. That's like a big question to ask me because I'm such a movie nerd. Like if I was not doing drag, I'd be trying to make movies, which is hard. Let me think. Um, Third favorite movie. I love The Princess Bride. It's probably not my number one favorite movie, but it is like way up there. I love Wesley and Buttercup. Like they are so Eva and me. Honestly, I need to dress up as Wesley and she needs to dress up as Buttercup for Halloween or something. Cause like I just I love that man. I love his devotion to her. I love the camp. It's very drag. It feels very drag to me. I love it.
Yeah, I love Princess Bride. I haven't seen it in a long time. I feel like I'm due for another watch.
I haven't watched it in a while either. I think I need to watch again too. But I've
Oh,
watched it more times than I could count, probably.
yeah. Do that for sex change. Do something for that for sex change.
Oh my God, that would be so
Mhm.
cute.
Very
Okay,
smart.
no, that's mega mind. Honestly, I've been trying to figure out what I'm doing for this month's one, so I love that.
All right. Well, if I see you do it, I'll make sure I like it, like the
Oh my
post.
God, I'll show you out. I'll show you out. I love
All
it.
right.
Okay.
Question number four. What's your favorite ice cream topping or frozen yogurt?
Oh my God, that's a good question. I used to work at a frozen yogurt shop. So that's some Mauve lore. One of my first jobs was working at a frozen yogurt shop. I love, well, if I'm going to be really Filipino, I love condensed milk on top of anything. So
Oh,
that's very Filipino of me. I love condensed milk. I love things that are sweet. Oh, ice cream's already sweet. Let's make it sweeter.
exactly.
Let's put some condensed milk. Second shout out to little mochi bits. I like those too.
Oh, that's sick. I love that. I don't think we have had mochi bits on the show, so that's a good answer there.
Yeah.
Question number five. I'm changing this one again. Originally, it was a question about socks. Then we went back to some old questions about Twix. But this time, I think like this one's going to be a lot more relevant. Name three drag performers that we should follow. I know we mentioned show like a bunch in today's episode, but like, are there three drag kings, drag queens, drag whatever, um, that we should follow right now?
Yeah. Okay. Um, oh my God. I love so many performers. But if I'm just thinking about some of my like favorites in Brooklyn, I adore well, she's not a drag king, but just drag performer in general. I adore Qhrist Almighty, Christ with a Q.
Okay.
Um, she is a drag performer, drag queen, who is pretty much only performs goth music. She's like a real true goth, but she always wears so much color. She wears so much blue and so much orange, but she performs only goth music, and I am obsessed with her. I think she's like such an underrated and amazing performer. And I'm biased because I'm gonna have her at Sex Change this month, so I'm very excited to have her. But genuinely one of my favorite performers. Um, and then, oh my goodness, I want to put some drag kings. Oh my God, Myster E Mel Kiki
Oh,
is a drag king here. He was last year's drag king of the year before Show Pony. He's a Latin drag king, and just like total charmer, classic drag king. Um, and he just totally melts your heart and your insides every time you see him perform. He is so incredible and a dear friend of mine as well. Um, Last one, let me think. Who else? There's literally so many. It's very hard for me to choose. I'm trying not to just choose like people because they're my friend. I'm trying to choose like people that I really admire in general. Okay, my last drag performer, I mean I think they I'm not sure if they even consider themselves a drag performer, but I love people from all different like parts of the performance canon. I would recommend following Zoe Ziegfeld,
okay.
uh, burlesque performer, snake charmer, Coney Island sideshow performer who works with Switch and Play. Um, they are absolutely incredible, like master of their craft and a total inspiration to me as well. Yeah.
Nice. Three performers. Then all their ats will be in the description below and in other posts as well. So people can go follow them. And then maybe I'll reach out to them and interview them. So I'm always looking for new people to talk to. So it's like I think our lineup right now, there's a couple people, but it's Pride. So it's been very difficult. Actually, we're going to make an announcement at the end about what's going on with the show. But before we do that, Mauve, thank you again for joining us. Where can people find you? And like tag your socials.
Amazing. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at mauve_over. That is not my name, it's just the handle because that's what I had to do. And where else? I'm on Twitter if you really like want to hear my controversial takes, which are not very controversial, but I always have an opinion about something. I went to art school, you know. I'm very opinionated. And if anyone is in Brooklyn, they should come out to my shows, specifically Sex Change on the 21st at Purgatory and Fagnet on June 30th at Come On Everybody.
Nice. And you sell tickets to these shows like online?
They're online and they're all in my Instagram bio, so you can
Okay.
get tickets there.
Link in the bio, like pussy in the bio.
Exactly. Exactly. I know. That's crazy. The way that Twitter has gone that direction, it's kind of hilarious.
Yeah. And Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like social media and the internet is fucked.
Yeah. And all I can do is laugh, I guess.
Exactly. My little announcement real quick is we're probably going to take a break for June. I'm realizing, yeah, it's Pride and people are not like they're super busy right now. So I'm like, might be a good thing to like take a week or two break until I can reach out to more people and ask them to come on the show after Pride. So I appreciate you being on with us today.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that this worked out. Like I said, I have a show anyways, so I was happy to get in drag a couple hours early and come chat. So, and yeah, I hope that everyone will come back and listen after Pride. It's so busy, but we'll be ready to be at home and listen to this podcast.
Lovely. Well, Wayward Artists, make sure you are subscribed and follow Mauve and me as well. Link in the bio and in the description. I hate that I can't say link in the bio without thinking pussy in the bio.
Exactly.
but yeah, please follow, and in the comments, let me know if there's someone particular that you want me to have on, and I would love to have them on, whether they are drag performers or anyone that works in queer nightlife, DJs, burlesque, strippers. Um, I don't really care as long as they work in nightlife. I'd love to have them on. And without further ado, guys, Wayward Artist, without it's been real. That ending was so cringe. I like completely forgot what I was supposed to do, but thanks, guys. Have a good one.